أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وأزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وذرياته وآل بيت كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. And about, you were asking me a question regarding Sujood Al-Sahw. So I'm going to answer you now before I start the lesson, because once I start the lesson I would like to continue and don't have questions in between. So you want to ask your question, I'll listen to you now.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. After, if we're making the Salatul Zuhr or the Salatul Asr, and you make the Tashahhud on the second rak'ah, and then you go to the third rak'ah, and then you make Tashahhud, and then you just remember that you have to complete one more rak'ah, and then you complete the rak'ah, you come down, you make Tashahhud, you salam out, then you do Salatul Zuhr again. And
Alaikum assalam rahmatullah.
after you do it again, do you have to do the Tashahhud all over again after you salamed out and then it's the Salatul Zuhr?
Okay. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. So in the subject of Sujood Al-Sahw, sometimes you make Sujood Al-Sahw. Sujood Al-Sahw means the two prostrations that you make at the end of your prayer. Sometimes you make it before the salam, before you end your prayer in the salam, and sometimes you make it after the salam. In this case, you would make it after the salam, because these are things that you have added to the prayer. And whenever you add to the prayer, you make Sujood Al-Sahw after salam. So, if you have made a tashahhud in the second rak'ah as it normally should be done, and then when you come to the third rak'ah, you forgot that you had already made it in the second rak'ah. So now you make it again. So now already you've made a tashahhud. One in the second rak'ah where it belongs, and the other in the third rak'ah where it does not belong. So if you're making a prayer that has 4 rak'ah, you will stand up. You will make the 4th rak'ah. And because you need to end your prayer with a tashahhud, and the sunnah of what they call Salat Nabi, in which you say some words for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family. And you also should do as a sunnah to say some words for yourself, your family, and the Muslim people. I'll teach you those words today, inshallah. So these things you will do as you normally would do. And then after you complete them, you will sit with an intention, because Sujood Al-Sahw must have intention. You will make intention in your mind to make the 2 prostrations after salam for which you have added, and you will say Allahu Akbar, and you will make prostration. You will say Allahu Akbar. You will sit in between, and you will say the words you normally say when you sit in between. Then you will say Allahu Akbar, and you will make sujood again. Then you will say Allahu Akbar, and you will sit for your final sitting for a tashahhud that will come now as a part of the Sujood Al-Sahw. And when you get to the end of that and you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, then you will make the salams. This is how you make Sujood Al-Sahw after salam. This is the way you make Sujood Al-Sahw after salam. So in fact, in this case, you're going to make a tashahhud 4 times. You're going to make it in the second rak'ah where it normally belongs. You're going to make it in the third rak'ah because you make it there by accident. You didn't intend to make it there purposely, but you did it forgetting. Then you're going to make it in the last rak'ah, which is that rak'ah you must make it to complete your prayer. and then you will make it, after you have made salam, you will make it once again as a part of the Sujood Al-Sahw. You understand what I say? Okay, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Is that enough?
And that's for when you add something to the prayer.
That's for when you add to the prayer.
If you forget.
Okay, if you miss a major sunnah, one major sunnah or more, or you miss two minor sunnah or more, then you must make Sujood Al-Sahw before salam. The way you do it is when you come to the end of your prayer, and you're saying a tashahud, a tahiyatul lillahi. Just before you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, you stop. Just before you say that, you stop. And in your mind, you make the intention you're going to make Sujood Al-Sahw before salam for the things that you forgot in the prayer, for the sunnahs that you forgot in the prayer. Because remember, if it's a fard that you miss from the prayer, you must fix the fard. Sujood Al-Sahw does not fix the fard. If you miss the fard and you don't fix it, then you lose the prayer. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. So in this case, you will make Sujood Al-Sahw before salams with the niyyah that you have missed some sunnah, one major sunnah or more, or two minor sunnahs or more. You would buy your niyyah in your mind, you would say, you intend to make Sujood Al-Sahw for those things that you missed. You will make the two prostrations just before you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, in your normal tashahud at the end of your prayer. You will make the two prostrations, then you will wait, and when you sit down your last sitting, after making the two prostrations, then you will say, Atayatu, all the way to the end. You will say Salat Nabi, all the way to the end, and you will pray like you normally do to the end of your prayer, and then you will say Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum, Rahmatullah, whatever you say. You understand what I say? So this is how you make Sujood Al-Sahw before salams. So when you make it before salams, just before you say at the tashahud, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, you will stop.
Just before you say it.
Just before you say
so
that.
You say Atayatullahi wa you say that.
You say all the way until you get to Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. You say all the way until you get there.
So if you realize you missed the fard and then now you decide to fix the fard that you missed, is that adding? Because you had to fix the fard?
You will be adding some things, because listen. Now you're asking me to tell you the whole subject matter of the Sujood Al-Sahw. It's okay, because people will take benefit from it. So listen to me. Let's say you miss a fard. You know what I mean by fard?
No.
Those are things like Al-Fatiha, like what's called, Takbiratul Ihram, the first takbir in the prayer. All of the positions, the ruku, the standing from ruku, a sujood, all of those things are fard in the prayer. Let's say that you miss some of the one or more of those things. That means that in order for you to keep this prayer, you have to fix that thing that's fard that you missed. You can't go on. But let's say someone goes on out of negligence or ignorance to the problem. They don't remember. And then now they're in the last rak'ah. And they remember, in the second rak'ah of the Dhuhr prayer that I'm in now, I didn't say Sujood. That means that when you make the ruku of the third rak'ah, you have now lost the ability to just go back and make sujood and continue. That means that whole second rak'ah was lost to you. After the ruku of the next rak'ah, that whole second rak'ah that you missed the sujood is lost to you. You can't just make the sujood. You have to make the whole rak'ah. So you do like mathematics. The third rak'ah becomes the second one. You maintain the first one, there was no problem with it. The third rak'ah became the second one. Huh? The fourth rak'ah that you're in becomes the third one, which means that you must replace one rak'ah, because this prayer has 4 rak'ah. Huh? When you replace that fourth rak'ah, that means that you have added many things during the time that you didn't remember, and after you remember, now you have to fix it. So many things were added. That means now you must make Sujood Al-Sahw after salam, because it always comes after salam when you have added things to your prayer. When you have omitted things, like you can keep your prayer if you miss a tashahhud in the second rak'ah. You understand the principle? Once you stand up, once your 2 hands and your knees leave the ground from the second rak'ah, and you didn't say a tashahhud, you cannot go backwards and sit back down and make it again. You must stand up completely. That's because a tashahhud is a sunnah, and the standing and al-Fatiha of the third rak'ah is fard. You can't leave a fard to go back to sunnah. This is the principle of fiqh. That means you cannot fix that a tashahhud that is major sunnah. It's gone. Islam says, okay, because it's not fard, it's major sunnah, you can't fix it, but you must make Sujood Al-Sahw before salam, because you can't fix it. So it's something that was omitted. You understand what I mean? It's something you lost, but you can still maintain your prayer, because you make Sujood Al-Sahw before salam for something that you omitted. You can still keep the prayer. So let's say somebody doesn't do Sujood Al-Sahw where it belongs for this thing. Let's say that they don't know this lesson, and so they don't make Sujood Al-Sahw before salam. Let's say they make Sujood Al-Sahw after salam, or they don't make Sujood Al-Sahw at all. What is the condition? The condition is that they have committed some kind of a sin, but they can still keep their prayer. And the biggest sin of those things is if there is someone who can teach them how to do it properly, and they don't do it, they don't come out and learn, they don't try to perfect their Islam by learning, that is the biggest type of sin. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will do as He pleased with them. I can't say whether He will punish them or not punish them, because some people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have mercy on them because of something other, for some other reason. He will try to find other things that can replace the problem that they make for themselves, and so He can fix it so He doesn't have to punish them. But in any case, we should be very careful in regards to our prayer, because our prayers are the difference between believers and disbelievers. This is a point that many people do not understand. You can say that you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows all of those people who believe in Him. But if someone says they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they don't believe that the prayer is necessary for them, according to the fiqh, they become infidel. They become disbeliever. So this means that the difference between a believer and the disbeliever, physically, that we can see, is that the believer make his prayers, and the disbeliever doesn't think that the prayers are necessary for him to make. Big difference. Yes.
So what if you, let's say you're in your fourth rakah,
yes,
you cannot remember whether you're in your third or fourth.
Okay.
You get confused.
That's a good question. Kaba, can you understand his question from the machine?
No.
I should repeat it. So his question is that, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. Let us say that you're in the fourth rakah, and you're not sure whether you're in the third or the fourth. And this happens quite a bit to people. The fiqh says that when you're in that situation, you should always add less, take less, and do the next thing to bring it up, rather than to say, take a guess and say maybe, or I'm going to ignore that and say that I'm in the fourth, because it's possible that you are not in the fourth, that you're in the third. So look, it must be that this thing, Assalamu alaikum, it must be that this thing comes to you occasionally for you to answer it. If it only comes, if it comes every day all the time, if it comes every day all the time, oh, you're in the third rak'ah, and you're in the fourth rak'ah, you're not in the second rak'ah, you know, it's confusing to you, then you know that is shaitan, a'udhu billahi. Shaitan, a'udhu billahi, is trying to prevent you from continuing your prayer. Because what happens is, if someone is constantly being confused by their prayer, and they don't know how to fix it, eventually they'll walk away from the prayer because it becomes too confusing for them. And they'll say, I'm going to come back and make this prayer later. You following me? We don't want to do that. That's why we sit down now to learn the subject, so that we confuse the shaitan, a'udhu billahi. We teach him that we understand Islam now, and we won't listen to him anymore. So if you're in that condition, you will say, this happened to me only one other time this week. Okay, I'm going to fix my prayer now. I'm not going to listen to shaitan, a'udhu billahi. I'm not going to say I'm in fourth rak'ah. I'm going to say I'm in third rak'ah, because I'm sure I got at least 3 rak'ah. The fourth one may be my imagination, but the 3 I know I have. So you will say I'm in the third one. Then you will stand up, you will do the fourth one. When you do the fourth one and you make salam, you will make sujood al-sahw after salam. Why?
Float you at it.
Because it's possible that you was already in the fourth one, and you may have added something. So just to be sure, you will make sujood al-sahw after salam. If you continue to do this method, the shaitan, a'udhu billahi, will start to leave you alone in your prayers. He won't try to confuse you as much, because from your learning about how to fix it, you now are becoming his big enemy. And he's helping his big enemy, because if he comes to you and you fix your prayer the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you should fix it, then you're now confusing the shaitan, a'udhu billahi. So after a while he will say, I'm tired of helping him to get barakah. He'll go to someone else. Of course he'll come back to you eventually some more, you know, this is his way. He must keep coming. This is his way. But he won't come to you as much, because now he knows that you know how to fix it. And once you know how to fix it, he doesn't want you to get the barakah. So he will stop helping you to gain barakah by having the knowledge on how to fix it. Are you following me? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. As you like.
Yeah, one other question. So does that apply to sunnah prayers also?
No. I mean, you use your nafil prayers to practice this thing. To practice. But it's not like the same, because nafils themselves are not obligatory. Nafil, sunnah or nafil prayers, they are voluntary. You know, they have a benefit for you if you do them. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't make a punishment for you. Assalamu alaikum. Because these prayers, they're not ordered. They are nafil or sunnah. And they have benefit. Like let's say, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. Let's say you forget some prayer, some farq prayer, like a Zohar, Asr, like that, you know. And you go some time and you don't remember about it. And then you die. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, He's going to ask about, where was my Zohar or Asr that you didn't give me? But out of His mercy for you, He would say, well, let me see. You used to make 6 sunnah or nafil after Maghrib all the time. Or you used to make 4 nafil before Dhuhr and 4 after Dhuhr all the time. I'm going to take some of those to replace the fard that you missed. so he doesn't have to punish you. You understand what I'm saying? And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, those people who follow his method by making the nafil like he does, making the wudu, the ghusl, making the prayers like he make, making the dua like he did, these different things, they follow what's called his sunnah. Those people who follow his sunnah, that he will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to intercede, to be able to intercede for these people. So making nafil has rewards for you that you don't see. They're waiting to help you when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you make a mistake in them, remember, they're nafil, they're not obligatory. But the fard prayers, you must fix them. If you lose the fard, you must repair it by making the fard itself. You understand me? These are obligatory until you die. Until you die. So the ulama, they make us some kind of talk about that, like if you owe money and the more time that goes that you haven't paid the money back, the more anxious the person who loaned you the money is to receive his money back. Well, this is us with the prayers with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the distance between the making of the prayer and not making it, it doesn't become less of an obligation as time is going on. It becomes more of an obligation. You see, this is the principle. Even when you repair a prayer, when you miss a prayer, Islam says you can't make the new prayer before you have fixed the old prayer if you know about it. If the prayers are less than 4, and some ulama say less than 5. If it's less than 4 or 5, and the new prayer is coming, they say you must make the old prayer before, the one you have missed, before you make the new prayer. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is anxious to receive back from you the prayer that you owe Him, as if when someone had loaned you money. You understand? Okay, so you want more?
Yeah, I have one more question.
As you like, because the class started a little bit late. And it's okay because I want to start from the beginning of a subject. I don't like to start in the middle. As you like.
Okay, just, you're about to say a prayer and you forget to do the intention for the prayer.
The niyyah.
The niyyah, you say Allahu Akbar, then you remember immediately. Can you cancel that prayer and start all over again?
Yeah, but Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu ala Muhammad. When they say the niyyah, you need me?
Yeah, you can repeat.
Okay. Your question is, let's say that you're starting a prayer, but you didn't make the niyyah to start your prayer, and you start it by saying takbiratul ihram, Allahu Akbar, and then you remember that you didn't make the niyyah. Should you stop and say the niyyah and then the takbiratul ihram? Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu ala Muhammad. So for sure, the intention of a thing is the biggest part of it. Assalamu alaikum. The intention of a thing is the biggest part of it. The hadith say that there's no action without intention. So we must have the niyyah. But in fact, what do they mean by that in regards to the prayer? In regards to the prayer, what they mean by niyyah is that if it is time for dhuhr, and there is no question that it's time for dhuhr, you don't owe other prayers, alaykum salam rahmatullah, and you stand up and you say Allahu Akbar, because that time that you're in is only for dhuhr, you know it's time for dhuhr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that it's time for your dhuhr. That is niyyah. You don't have to say niyyatul musalli dhuhratan. You don't have to say I intend to make the prayer of dhuhr in order for you to still maintain your prayer. But if you do that, the jurists say your prayer is stronger, because the stronger the niyyah, the stronger the action. You understand what I'm saying to you? So they don't say that for every action you must verbalize the niyyah. it's enough to know this is the dhuhr time. I haven't made dhuhr. I'm going to make dhuhr now. You following me? Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. But if you say, I intend to make dhuhr, don't say it where everyone can hear you. You can say it quietly to yourself. In the book of Al-Sharh Al-Saghir, they recommend that you do that. For each prayer, you make some silent niyyah before that prayer. But again, if you're making the morning prayer, what we call subh, and you don't have another prayer that you have to make up. So when you're praying now at this time of day, only prayer you should be making is subh. You following me? So that in itself is niyyah. But if you say niyawatul musalli subh rakatain, I'm going to make 2 rak'ah for the subh prayer, it's stronger, but it's not absolutely necessary.
So the niyyah is not far?
The niyyah, to say the niyyah is not necessary, not fard. But you must have a strong intention that you're making this particular thing at this time of day for that purpose. But it's not fard that you must say, I intend to make dhuhr 4 rak'ah. But if you do it, it makes your action stronger. But if you don't do it, you can still maintain your prayer. You don't lose the prayer. You understand me? The only way you lose the prayer by niyyah is if you think that you're making maghrib and it's Isha time, and you haven't differentiated. So you actually go into the prayer thinking that you're making maghrib, but you're supposed to be making Isha. Then your prayer is very weak. Maybe Allah will accept it, maybe not, because you have not concentrated on the action that you are supposed to be performing. You understand? So the niyyah is mainly to make you have a strong action, that what you intend to do and what you're doing are the same thing. Okay? Alhamdulillah. Okay.
What if you, in the salah, you miss a fard and a sunnah, and you remember at the end of the salah?
Okay. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. This thing is the same answer as I gave you before. The fard you must fix. If you don't fix it, forget the sunnah. The sunnah, if you don't fix it, it doesn't mean you lose your prayer. You have to differentiate, because sunnah, they have what's called sunnah khafifa, which means something small, and sunnah mu'akkada, which means something big. Assalamu alaikum. So look, even for the sunnah mu'akkada, again, to recite a tashahhud in the second rak'ah of all of our prayers is sunnah mu'akkada. It's big sunnah. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam always did it. Okay? Big sunnah is sunnah mu'akkada. But in any case, if you miss the sunnah mu'akkada of a tashahhud, it doesn't invalidate your prayer. You have to make Sujood Al-Sahw before salams, as I told you. You can still keep your prayer. But to make ruku', if you don't make ruku' in the second rak'ah, or in the third rak'ah, or in the fourth rak'ah, or in the first rak'ah, you have missed the fard. You cannot leave that and maintain your prayer. If you miss the fard, you must fix the fard itself. This is the first rule in the subject of Sujood Al-Sahw. The first rule in the subject of Sujood Al-Sahw is that if you miss the fard, you must fix the fard itself to maintain your prayer. So, if you miss a fard and you miss a sunnah, the fard is the one that you're worried about more than anything. If you miss a fard and you miss a sunnah, you must fix the fard or nothing else matters anyway, because you won't have a prayer if you don't fix the farad. Now, let's say you fix the farad. The sunnah you cannot go back and fix. Why? Because you can't leave a farad for a sunnah. So everything that comes after that sunnah is farad. All of those movements are farad. So once you have left it, you can't fix it because you must go on to the next farad. You following me?
Okay, so if you, all right, so now you fix the fard, so then you know the ruling to fixing the fard, you're gonna have to make the Sujood Al-Sahw after for what you added.
What you added.
But then also do right before you do that, do you have to make the Sujood Al-Sahw for the sunnah that you missed?
Listen to me. If you miss an add, you're going to make Sujood Al-Sahw before salams. If you miss only, you're going to make Sujood Al-Sahw before salams. If you add only, you're going to make Sujood Al-Sahw after salams. This is the rule. Once you put those rules in your mind, it's like this subject, the jurists say, many times, they teach this subject first in fiqh. The reason they teach this subject first in fiqh is so that it will stimulate the brain. It's like doing mathematics. Like let's say you have a child, and you notice that your child, the jurists actually do this, they notice that this particular child is does very well in math at an early age. He can calculate numbers quickly at an early age. He has an affinity to these numbers. He's good at math. The jurists say that this child will probably be good at all other subjects because his brain is functioning on a high level because he's already in tune with mathematics. And this is why they practice Sujood Al-Sahw first when they start to teach fiqh, so that the people will make their minds start to become alert, and so the other subjects will be easier for them to maintain that information. Unfortunately, this class started when I was in the middle. They didn't get an opportunity for me to do Sujood Al-Sahw with them. I intend to do it. As a matter of fact, for this whole week, I've been going back and forth with myself to stop where I am and to start Sujood Al-Sahw for the brothers now. Assalamu alaikum. So, inshallah, I should get back to that soon, inshallah. But I'm happy to answer your questions on Sujood Al-Sahw. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing? In any case, those are very good questions. As you can see, I'm answering your questions in a mathematical fashion, which is what I'm doing that purposely to try to get you to see that this subject that you're asking me about can be mathematically, you can figure it out once you understand the rules. Just like any other math thing. Once you understand the rules, it doesn't matter the numbers. Once you understand the rules, you can still apply the same formula to any set of numbers. Alhamdulillah. Yes.
I believe you were talking about something earlier and it caused my attention to you when you brought it over. When I pray, I have bad thoughts. Every time I mention Allah's name or Prophet Muhammad or any kind of good thing that I'm trying to mention, but in my head I have bad thought comes to me like a picture of something that's not supposed to be there, and it's like I'm trying to imagine like that's that, but it's not, and I'm like, something bad, How do I change that? Is that a good thing for me or is that a bad thing?
Bad thing. The question is, every time he goes to make prayers, he's getting bad thoughts, like something that is distracting him away from his prayer. The shaitan, a'udhu billahi, is playing a bad game with him, you see. And the main reason that he's doing that is because he can, because he sees that he can. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. This is not for you only. This happens to many people.
But I feel like it's on a different level with every different individual because I have to do my usul like 2-3 times. I have to.
This is the problem. This is the problem. The problem is that you're doing that. See, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu. Let me answer you in a way that everyone can understand. Let's say that you're inside your home and you hear a knock on the door. When you hear the knock on the door, you go to the door. You see someone outside that you don't want to deal with. You go away from the door and don't answer it. He comes back an hour later. Boom, 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 boom. He knocks on the door again. When he knocks on the door the next time, you look, it's the same person. You don't go. You don't answer it. He may come back 3 or 4 times the same day. Then the next day, he may only come back 2 times. Then the day after that, if you don't answer it, he may only come back 1 time. And then he may only come back twice a week. And eventually only once a week. And then eventually twice a month. And then eventually once a month. And until eventually he doesn't come back very often at all because he knows you won't answer. This is the shaitan, a'udhu billahi. He's doing that because you're answering him. So every time he comes to you and you say, oh, I have to go and remake my wudu, I have to make my prayer again, and these type of things, he is confusing you and you are answering him. So you have to learn the rules. The reason that I'm teaching these lessons is to help to protect people against that exact thing that you're talking about. That exact thing that you're talking about. So this type of work, this type of lesson, actually, it helps to make you stronger against shaitan, a'udhu billahi. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say that one learned person is more feared, more stronger against the shaitan, a'udhu billahi, than 1,000 worshippers. I'm saying to you, when you go into your prayer, you must start easiest thing for you to do. You must start by trying to concentrate on the meaning of the words. First, try to concentrate on the meaning of the words. Because you speak Arabic language?
No, I understand a little bit.
Okay. That's okay. You have to keep practicing the meaning of these words until you think Arabic. You understand? And for these words, for these particular words, I'm not telling you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes everybody have to be Arabic speaking people. But in the prayer they do. In the prayer they do. It has to be that when you're making your prayer, you must understand what you're saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you must practice the words that you say every day until you start to think, when you say them, you know what you're saying in the language that you speak. So you're thinking actually in Arabic for these particular sentences. You following me? That enables you to concentrate on what you're doing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that makes the shaitan, a'udhu billahi, have less effect on you. Because once you are concentrating on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words and what you're saying to him, it's like if I'm having a conversation with you. If I'm having a conversation with you and I'm talking about something and my mind starts to wander someplace else, my conversation becomes like mixed up conversation. After a while you're wondering, what is he talking about? Because he's saying something to me and then he's saying something else that has no meaning to this particular thing. It's the same thing in your prayers. As you're making your prayers, you must concentrate on the words that you're saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Arabic language until it becomes easy for you to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your prayers and you know what you're saying. This makes the shaitan, a'udhu billahi, less effective against you in your prayers. And then you must know how to fix your prayers if you make a mistake. Because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, the patch prayer, bismillah, the patch prayer is stronger than the prayer that had no problem with it. Why? Because in the patch prayer, it means that you have done the work to actually learn how to fix it. I think he's going to make azan now. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu ala Muhammad. Is it time now?
No.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
So I take your answer as if I'm not focusing.
That's right.
That's the only thing
That's the main thing. The main thing is that your focus, you're losing focus. And you're probably losing focus because the meaning of the words that you're saying, you don't exactly have command of them. You understand what I'm saying to you?
The good words that I do understand is just that the negative picture from something else comes to it.
Yes.
And I'm trying to take that picture away from that word.
So
image.
what you have to do is you have to put more work into this study. More work into the study of fixing your prayers, knowing what you're saying in your prayers, until it becomes like your mind is thinking in the language that you're speaking. You see, it happens to many people. Even to Arabic-speaking people sometimes, they are in their prayer and they're worried about their business. Like how much money they're going to make and these type of things. This takes their mind away from their prayer, and it allows shaitan, auzubillahi, to come into their mind and to destroy their prayer. You following me? So for all of us, the concentration, our concentration must be what we are saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and try to have it implanted in our heart. To implant it in our heart is the biggest thing, because just to say the words, even if you're an Arabic speaking person and you say the words, and the words they become like robotic, you know what I mean? You're just saying the words because you know to be able to say them, but they're not going into your heart. This has no effect. The shaitan, auzubillahi, he can still come into your prayer easily because the words are not, they're not focused into your heart. Okay? You need something else from me? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ibrahim, you okay? Yeah, I'm happy to see you. Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. It is reported by Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu that he heard from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the signs of hypocrisy are three. The signs of hypocrisy are three. When he speaks, he lies. When he gives his word, he does not keep it. And when he is entrusted with something, he doesn't keep the trust. When he speaks, he lies. When he gives his word, he doesn't keep it. And when he is entrusted with something, he doesn't keep the trust. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. Many people, they say Islamic words like, I'm Muslim person, I'm Muslim. And only Allah knows what everyone, whether they're Muslim or not Muslim, what is in their heart. But some signs that we have, that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us about, that we should look at ourselves. We should look at ourselves. And we should see, do we give this example of hypocrisy by telling lies, by not keeping our word when we give it, and by not taking the advantage when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts us in a position of trust, that we don't keep the trust. If you find yourself in this position, then you must change it. Because of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His mercy is boundless. This can be fixed. But Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad, we must work at fixing it. It won't fix itself. Hypocrisy can be underlying, like a person look in the mirror and tell himself, I'm such a great Muslim. But then he exhibits these bad characteristics and he hides them from himself. So in fact, his hypocrisy is so deep that he can't even see himself. So all Muslims have to beware, be cautious, that if you want to be safe, You must follow the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is no other way. Money won't help you unless you use your money in the way Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam suggested that the Muslims should do. Fame and fortune, useless to you if you don't do this Islam by the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't care how big you become in the dunya. If you don't do the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have failed. You have failed. There is no two different Islams, only one. It's not very complicated. But the people, as they did in history, the prophets would come, all prophets, same problem. All prophets, the same problem. They would come. All of those people of influence, power, big family, riches, royalty, those would not listen. Generally, those would not listen. Who would listen? The poor people. And so the big shots always used to say to those prophets throughout all of history of man, look who's following you. Only those poor indigenous people. They don't matter. You see? This has always been the case. But we know from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who he himself preferred to be with the poor people, that poverty, worldly poverty, is meaningless. The only thing that really matters is whether or not you believe. Only two things on this planet. Everything else is subterfuge. You know what I mean, subterfuge? It's not really a part of the problem. It's everything else is just a part of the decoration. Two things that matter: belief or disbelief. The Muslims should be the best example of belief. So we come to the case today. Now we have people who are saying they're Muslim, but they're doing atrocities to other people. They're saying they're Muslim, but they're killing people. They're killing pregnant women. They're killing people who have done nothing against them. And they're saying that they're doing this because they're Muslim. They're not Muslim. They're criminals. Criminals. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. According to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are 4 doors that the believer should stay away from to achieve success. One of them is excessive glances. That means that, you know, like when the ladies walk past, if your eye stays on them a long time and you watch them going away, you watch them coming and going, and excessively you're looking at them, that means that you have opened the door for shaitan, a'udhu billahi. If you use the common words that the people use, you know, they curse, they talk frivolous talk, things that don't matter. They always talking about these things, excessive words. These things open the door for shaitan, a'udhu billahi, to enter your life, to become a part of what you do. If you socialize with the kufr, if you socialize with the disbelieving people as a common practice daily, you will be like them. Because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, you are like those people you imitate. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu to Muhammad. And These 4 things, they open the door for shaitan, a'udhu billahi, to come into our life. We should protect ourselves from that. Be sure, these things are not a part of the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To be successful, we must find the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through our search and knowledge, and we should put it into practice. Because to know it is not enough. You must practice it on a daily basis in order for it to protect you. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله. اللهم إنا نسألك من كل خير سألك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم وأعوذ بك من كل شر استغفرك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما قرنا وما أسررنا وما لنا وما أنت أعلم به من أربعة في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الماء والممات ومن فتنة القبر ومن فتنة مسيح الدجال ومن عذاب النار رسول المصير وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Thank you for visiting me.